Oh man, the NFL trade deadline is coming up. Uh, we had some moves today. I thought it was kind of a key move here, and I'm going to start off with talking about this. The Ravens traded for Deontay Johnson, and I thought this was genius because the Houston Texans report that Diggs is out for the season with a torn ACL. Johnson, I think, would have been a great replacement for Diggs. The Ravens and the Texans play each other on Christmas. For the Ravens to make this move first, it's a fifth, and they get a fifth, and Johnson are giving back a sixth. Man, because I really think the Houston Texans, if I was the Texans, I would have beaten this deal, have somebody to replace Diggs, and the fact that these two teams are going to play, which could be for playoff positioning. This could be the difference between a home game and an away game. Now, Houston, unless something crazy happens, which by the way, it has. Remember, Jacksonville was 7-3, lost, finished. What was it, 9-8? So I mean, we have seen a collapse in the AFC South before. Remember, the Texans got in, destroyed the Browns, which actually were favored. I don't know how many of you remember that. And then the Texans and the Ravens played in the playoffs. Baltimore won. They get Johnson. The Texans really could have used him. So, fantasy implications. I Johnson in Baltimore. I'm not really sure how productive he's going to be. I like him more for the playoffs, to be honest with you. And that's what Baltimore's kind of looking forward to. I think the goal is to try to have a little less wear and tear on Derrick Henry. And the best way to do that is, of course, get the bye. But being that you lost to Kansas City, it's going to be tough. But we'll see what happens. Austin coming out strong. What's up, my brother? Hey, Dan, this is the team that lost last week. I'm really looking to improve my wide receiver. I'm targeting Ridley in the waiver wire. That's smart. And the reason why it's smart is it's not a big move, but he's going to go ahead and pick up Ridley and try to orchestrate a trade. This is a solid team. Very, very, very solid team. Love and Baker, Reed, J.J. Higgins, Thomas Jr., Brown, John Walker, Aaron Jones, Hunt, Bigsby, a really, really good, solid running back group. Kittle and Kmet, two really good tight ends, and then Aubrey, a fantastic kicker. If I am playing the Lions defense, I'm doing this banking on Jordan Love not playing. It does look like Jordan Love will play. He's day to day. I expect him to play. How good he's going to be is up to you. There's several different defenses I would play besides the Lions. However, if Jordan Love's not playing, this could be a good move because the one thing about the Lions is they have been getting turnovers. Plus, I mean, they put up a ton of special teams points last week. So you're doing pretty well. So. Slasher. Oh, man. God, I got Slasher in the house early. This is fantastic. Yeah. Despite the loss, I would still have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, or Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry as my top two MVP candidates. I still would have Derrick Henry as number one. I would have Lamar Jackson as number two, despite the loss. Now you add a weapon. And what I really like about this is that he was with Pittsburgh for a long time. The rumor was that him and Pickens had some real problems getting along. Pickens apparently is not the easiest guy to get along with. So what Pittsburgh did apparently was to get rid of Johnson, go into a division rival. That Ravens Steelers battle for first place, which by the way, I mean, I would, as a football fan, like to see the Bengals and Browns get a little more involved, but we'll see how that goes. We'll go how that goes. But yeah, the Ravens are I like to move. I also like to move because I think the Houston Texans should have made this move. These two teams play on Christmas. These two teams play on Christmas. So real smart move by the Ravens, giving up very little. Sisu, my German brother. Yeah. Keaton Talk Sports, Texans may be in trouble. Yes and no. I really think that they have the South pretty much wrapped up. I think the Jags look terrible. Tennessee is terrible. The Colts made an interesting move. They benched Anthony Richardson, which I thought was smart. It gives them a legitimate chance now that Jonathan Taylor's healthy. This opens up fantasy football for all the Colts receivers. Pittman's now a viable starting target. Josh Downs, Adonde Mitchell, who may be available on the waiver wire, I think is an excellent pickup. He's the guy I actually thought the Chiefs were going to get in the first round, not Xavier Worthy. I liked Mitchell more than I liked Worthy. This guy's 6'2", ran a 4.33. Massive upside. I also think this opens up the door for Jonathan Taylor's value to just go up. And I think this is going to last for the rest of the season. Now, keep in mind, they play the Vikings on Sunday night. The Vikings run that real complex, crazy scheme. That's a lot of fun to watch. I can't wait for Sunday Night Football because I think that this is now a matchup between two potential playoff teams. As of right now, the Vikings, I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC, maybe the NFL. They play Green Bay in a tough game. The Vikings, of course. I think, and look, if they were in any other division in the NFC, they're probably a threat to win that division. In the NFC North, they're fighting for a wild card. The Colts, I don't think, can catch the Texans. But I think the one thing that's different in the AFC and the NFC is that I think you could be a 9-10 win team in the AFC, get a wild card. In the NFC, I think you have to win at least 10. And honestly, there could be a double-digit team in the NFC on the outside looking in, while the NFC West winner may be a 8-9, 9-8 team. You never know. Sisu, I'm sorry, man. Any of the Colts receivers that could be on the waiver wire. Adonai Mitchell is now a valuable option. Josh Downs, Pittman, Alex Pierce, all these guys may, depending on your league, may be available. I would strongly suggest. I have to stop messing with my eye. I apologize. The one thing about the dryness out here in Vegas, but yeah, get on the waiver wire, see what you can find out. But Adonai Mitchell's probably available. Alex Pierce, Pittman may be available. Josh Downs probably not. But all these guys much more viable fantasy football options now. Dave, what's up, brother? So Dave hit me up. He made a trade that I endorsed, Deebo Samuel and Breece Hall for Cooper Kupp and Mooney. Even though Deebo's not playing this week, I think that's a plus because you get Deebo on a bye. He comes back. He should be healthy, good to go. And then you get a 3-down back, even though Dave has some 3-down backs already. He trades away Cooper Kupp, which could be, we'll have to find out. But he looks like the number 2 guy, at least after last week. And Mooney is really up and down. So I like this. Adds to his receiving core. After this week, Dave's team becomes really dangerous. Also, he has Jordan Addison. So Dave Addison hopefully tears it up for you this week. I'm sorry, man. Hey, listen, this season, we're here to help out. We're here to help out. You found out now. So get on the waiver wire. You have some options. You have some options. Let us know what you can do, but make a move. Make a move. Do it fast. This is tough. Yeah, I get it. Xavier Legette, his touches are going to go up. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even think about who the Panthers are going to elevate. They do have oh God, he has a hyphenated name. I remember he was with the Chiefs in training camp, and I really liked the kid. Wow. I don't even recognize any of these names. I do remember Jonathan Mingo, a second-round pick who's done almost nothing, was a guy I absolutely loved coming out of Ole Miss. That may be an option. That could be a legitimate option. Sutton's solid. I actually kind of like Sutton. Tillman the last 2 weeks. These are guys that I would really strongly suggest. Tillman's been really good the last 2 weeks for the Browns, and keep in mind you have a big unknown factor. It's a small sample size, but the last 2 weeks he's looked really, really, really good. You also have Sutton, who I've always loved Sutton, always been a huge Sutton fan. So these are guys that you can pick up. Sizu, you may also have to make a trade, but I would recommend Sutton and Tillman. Get both of those guys. I wouldn't recommend Dubs. I'm assuming you're talking Duze. I'm not sure, but get them fast. My boy Slasher says Derrick Henry has got to slow down. I need Saquon Barkley to win Offensive Player of the Year. I've been saying this for a while. Like, Derrick Henry's pace is not sustainable. Is not sustainable at all. Um, I don't know if you want to drop Hopkins, but I mean, you have to drop you have to drop Diggs, and then I would drop Diggs, and then I would pick up either Sutton or Tillman. Um, as far as dropping Hopkins, I mean, the one thing about Hopkins is he's going to be sprinkled in there a little bit with Sutton and Tillman. You got two starters, or Hopkins, you have kind of an unknown. Um, Look, I'll be honest. If it was me, um, yeah, I would. I would for Tillman. I'm not so sure for Sutton. You also may have to make a trade. Which one? Which one? Are you talking about Diggs or ESPN? And again, ESPN's not the best, but yeah, ESPN's reporting them out, and it was just because it just happened. So, but a slasher, I've been saying this for a while. The pace is not sustainable. Sorry, I'm having some problems here. I was going to pull up the numbers for Derrick Henry, but the pace is not sustainable. So, I mean, he had 11 rushing attempts last week, and that's smart. You really don't want to run him into the ground. I mean, right now, according to ESPN, he's projected for 308 carries, and this is a guy who's over 30. So it's really just not sustainable. It's just not. Um, the difference is with Barkley is that he's used a lot more in the passing game, and I also I didn't go back and watch the Eagles Bengals game, but I'm under the impression that they're using him a little more on the outside. When you run a tall running back between the tackles, there's so much more of your torso that can be hit by 300-pound defensive tackles. And I was one of the things I always hated about the Chargers is the Chargers had. Oh, now he's with Washington. Oh, great! I'm 19 minutes into a show, already having a brain freeze here. Um, Already having a brain freeze. Austin Eckler is that you had this small running back, and you kept on running in between the tackles. When you have 300-pound defensive tackles just constantly pounding on you, it just lowers your lifespan as a ball carrier. That's why I always like trying to get guys outside, not running between the tackles so much. Or if you do run a back between the tackles, you have to understand that if every time you run a back 20 carries between the tackles, you're going to have to give them a breather somewhere down the line. Barkley did have 100 yards rushing. I do know that. But I don't know if it was between the tackles. I do know that they use him a lot more in the passing game. I mean, Barkley definitely could be offensive player of the year. What did he do receiving wise? Only one catch. It's a little disappointing because I thought he'd have more receiving or more receptions. Right now, only 17 receptions. 7 receptions in the last 4 games. That's a little surprising. Honestly, Saquon Barkley is still an MVP candidate as well as Offensive Player of the Year. So I would love to put on my reserve to give him a ring if I win. if you have the ability to put Hopkins on a reserve, do that. But I mean, yes, absolutely. In it now, I'm assuming you're in a PPR league, but in a PPR league, Tracy has a lot of value. I mean, what he did against Pittsburgh, that's a really good defense. This is a very good player. But I would definitely those are two receivers you'd love to go ahead and get. Irving and White. I'm gonna level with you, man. I think Tracy's a better option than both of them right now. I really do. And the problem is with White and Irving is I have no clue how Tampa Bay is really going to differentiate those two guys, and or if they're going to use them at the same time. But I like Tracy over both those guys. And if you have a reserve spot, use that for Hopkins. So, Chicken Wing, what is up, brother? JR Smile, what is up, brother? Yo, running back trade targets for Waddle. You have Waddle, correct? Honestly, you're probably not going to get much. I would, possible guys that I can't speak on what somebody would want to give up for Waddle in your league. I mean, if you go after a wide receiver hungry player in your league, they may have a lot of running back. So, Mozart's an option. Mozart would probably be kind of the number one option. Garando, possibly Mason. I don't know his injury issue. CMC is going to come back, but I don't know how much he's going to play. Zach Moss for the Bengals, even though they're kind of phasing him out. You may be able to get Zahir White, who's doing almost nothing. Madison's kind of the starter with the Raiders, but I doubt he'd be available. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of looking at some backup running backs, some waiver wire guys, somebody like Antonio Gibson, something like that. It's the hard thing is with trade targets is that everybody is going to have a different opinion. There's going to be somebody like I'm a huge Waddle fan, and I think his value is going to go up. So this is a guy that, in my opinion, you're selling low. But if you need a running back and you want to get rid of him because you're not using him, I get that. I have a hard time thinking there's going to be there's going to be a lot of value. You may have to mix and match Waddle. What you're going to have to do is, I have no idea if you're in an 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 person league. What you're going to have to do is figure out who needs a receiver. A lot of leagues have a message board. You may just want to throw it out there. Hey, look, I'm looking. Is anybody interested in Waddle? See what you can get. The first name that popped in my mind would be Mozart, just because he's on the team. He's the backup. I have no confidence A-Chain's going to be healthy. Plus, this is a guy who got 21 touchdowns last year. That would be the number one guy, because there could be somebody looking at Miami and looking at A-Chain, looking at Tua, looking at the receivers, and overlooking the guy who got 21 touchdowns. But Here's a guy that's wildly productive that's now a bench player. So you may also scour the waiver wire. Antonio Gibson may be available. Miles Sanders, I don't know if he'd be available. Jalir McLaughlin for Denver, I might be butchering that name, might be a guy that's available as well. So, same kind of neat. We got, oh yeah, well, by the way, this is okay because they're two different people. And this makes sense because Waddle was a viable fantasy football target and a solid wide receiver number 2 before the season starts. So, yeah. IDK, what's up, brother? Noah Bonecutter defense to stream this week. All right. Noah, by the way, cool name. Cool name. Let's take a look here. For this week, now keep in mind with Flacco starting, Minnesota's not as good, but I do like Minnesota with some extra time playing at home, backup quarterback, but I like Flacco. So Minnesota's a tough one, but it's not a bad option. Cleveland, even though the Chargers are favored, I kind of like the Cleveland defense. That's solid. Honestly, Patriots or Titans is another one that could be low-key solid. I have no confidence in the Panthers. The Saints aren't a viable option. If you want to, you could bank on Washington over the Giants, but I'll be honest with you. I said this in my video, which please, but by the way, Noah, please check out my Week 9 picks video. But I'm going to quote you: New York's better than a 2-win team, but their offense is struggling. I'm not completely sold on the Washington defense. The Bengals, they're playing the Raiders. They're at home. I know they gave up 37 to the Eagles. Trust me, the Eagles offense and the Raiders offense, two different and separate things. I'll be honest with you. Normally I would say Buffalo, but I'm kind of expecting a shootout. Is there one defense that I would really say, hey, there's really not with Flacco starting. I have a lot of faith in Baker Mayfield, or else I would tell you Kansas City. But I actually think that's going to be a really, really close game. I got a feeling Chiefs Bucks are going to be a nail biter. You could also go with the Chargers, but again, if you watch my video, I'm going to quote you in my video. I like what Winston's doing in Cleveland, so there's really not one that I could really. There's really not one defense I'm just sitting here and hanging my hat on this week. I mean, I would have told you with Anthony Richardson as starting quarterback, Minnesota's defense would be the one to play. With Joe Flacco, remember they did have they lost on Thursday and they're playing at home, so the extra rest, backup quarterback, these are valuable options. Plus Minnesota does have a lot of different pass rushers, which I like against a quarterback that's not very mobile. So, but you can go with Cleveland. If you want to, if you want to, I mean, Chargers have a really good defense. They're going against backup quarterback. I just really kind of like what Winston's bringing to that team. I think New England or Tennessee are both also viable options. But I wouldn't say there's a great defense to play. What are your options? Would you start Jonathan Brooks if he plays? Other options, Tyjae Spear off waivers if I can get them. I would not start Jonathan Brooks. Number one, there's no indicator that he is going to play. Let's say he does play. I think it's going to be very situational this week. If he starts practicing this week, I would lean towards next week. Tyjae Spears, I really don't have a lot of faith in. Number one, Pollard has been the number one guy by a considerable margin. Plus, you have a really bad matchup against New England. There's a lot of issues in New England, but the defense is still solid. So if you have Jonathan Brooks, I strongly suggest you keep him. Not this week, but next week, he could really be a really good fantasy football option. So. Perry, my Canadian brother. Hey Dan, how are you doing today? I'm doing really good, man. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to do my favorite thing in the whole world. I'm talking football. This is going to be great. I need to quit drinking energy drinks. I stayed up till like 5 a.m. making my video. So even though I'm doing great, I'm a little tired. What do you think of the Pats in Kansas City trade? I really like it. I've always been a Josh Uche fan. The Chiefs have a player, Mike Dana, that they signed to a 3-year deal this offseason. I thought they were going to lose him after this year because they drafted FAU. It's Felix Anzalou. Anyway, they go by FAU. He's a local Kansas City kid that they chose at the end of the first round. I didn't like the pick. The plan was that the Chiefs were going to use him and try to keep building on the defensive line. They were hoping he could have the same type of impact George Karlaftis had, and it's not even close. As a matter of fact, Dana's beat him out. Dana and Uche were teammates at Michigan, and they're very similar players. Uche just has a lot more athleticism. Now, Dana's been injured, and he's missed the last 2 games, but he's not on IR. So I do like the move. It's potentially a long-term deal, but let me go with the negative. The negative is that this FAU pick looks like an absolute bust. But Uche is a guy that has massive upside and athleticism. Is also a pure pass rusher. I like the kid. Also, if you're the Patriots, it's very obvious that you're trying to acquire draft capital. I wouldn't be surprised they let go of another player. I was actually thinking there could be a Pats Kansas City trade at corner. I was thinking Marcus Jones for maybe a 3rd-round pick. The Chiefs wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs pick up a corner as well. But I like the move, and I like the move for the Patriots because you need to go ahead and upgrade offensive line and receiver. And this is a good draft to get an edge rusher. You already let go of Judon. Now you're going with Uche. Let's be honest, you're not doing much this year. So get some draft capital in an edge rusher heavy draft because you're going to have to replace both these guys anyway. Get some good value. You're getting an extra 3rd. Now you're getting an extra 5th. So I like it for New England. Kansas City gets a guy that I think will fit in really well. I think they'll fit in really well. He won't be a full-time starter, and the Chiefs don't need him to be. I think it's one of those very rare win-win for both teams because New England now has some extra draft capital. this is a defense. This is a draft where you're going to have lots of edge rushers and lots of tackles. So the Patriots will benefit. And I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Uche's in the long-term plans, but we'll see. There is a chance that Chiefs sign Uche and move on from FAU or Dana. That's definitely a possibility. So NFL casual, welcome back, brother. Should I start Cooper Kupp or Nakuda? This is a great question. I liked Nakuda better. Watching the game last week, he looked like he was the number one guy. He really did. He looked faster. He just looked better. That's just my opinion. I know Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown. He had that game in the beginning of the season. I want to say 12 catches, 110, and a touchdown. He looked like he was coming back to being the same guy, but here's a guy that's over 30, had an injury. Nakuda looks like, Nakuda after that first game, he looked like he's a viable number one guy. Cooper Kupp, I'm not so sure about. So I would go with Nakuda. But the good news is if you got both of these guys, you're in really good shape. You're in really good shape. I don't think you can make a bad decision here. Plus, I really like the matchup against Seattle. I am not sold on Seattle's defense. I think either one of these guys, it seriously would not surprise me if both these guys had really big games. Wouldn't surprise me at all, but I'm leaning towards Nakuda. Noah, welcome back, brother. A-Chain or London in the flex. Another situation where you're in a really, really, really good spot. You're in a really good spot. I'm always a fan of a 3-down back. Now, keep in mind, I've been anti-A-Chain because I really thought that when Mozart came back, A-Chain would go to the bench, maybe be relegated to 5 to 10 touches. It doesn't really look that way. It doesn't look that way. It looks like A-Chain's going to be the main guy. You have a tough matchup against Buffalo, but remember last time these two played, A-Chain blew up as far as fantasy went, had like over 30 touches. So I could see a situation where the same thing happens again, and Buffalo may win big, but A-Chain may blow up. London could have a big game against Dallas. I'm not completely sold on Dallas right now. Full disclosure, please watch my video. But I could see a situation where Dallas wins, but London could easily have a good game. I mean, he looks like he's developing into a star. I would go with A-Chain, but you're in a really, really, really good situation here. It doesn't matter which one you do. I'll say this over and over again. I'd rather you go against my advice and win than take my advice and lose. I would go A-Chain. I like a 3-down back. It's a tough matchup against Buffalo, but last time he played against Buffalo, fantasy-wise, he blew up. So I would go with A-Chain. Let me know what you do, brother. Zeke, McLaughlin, Sanders, Jay Hill, Rashawn Johnson, Braylon Allen are other options to pick up. I know Rashawn Johnson played a little more. Justice Hill, not. Justice Hill's a little interesting here. Not sure with Deontay Johnson if it's going to lower his touches or not. Wasn't getting a lot to begin with. Miles Sanders should have some more touches. I know Zeke got a few more touches with Dottle going down. I have no idea what the situation is there. McLaughlin got into the end zone last week. I've been saying for a while that Javonte Williams is really going to take off, but McLaughlin, now keep in mind, it was kind of like a blowout win, and I'm not expecting a blowout win this week. Braylon Allen is interesting. I mean, you got a tough matchup, but the one thing about Braylon Allen you have to realize is that he's going to get some touches. He got in the end zone last week. I'm taking a look, 12 carries, 32 yards. His 12 carries were the most he's had, not an option in passing game. I'll be honest. I just don't know. I mean, even if he does get touches, I really don't know if you can count on him to really put up another score against a tough Texans defense. I mean, none of these options are really good. I'm gonna level with you. I'm gonna level with you. McLaughlin's might be the one to go with, and I say that just because when I've been watching Baltimore, one thing that I've noticed that Baltimore's really struggled with is that when you split a tight end or use motion for a wide receiver or a back in the backfield, the linebackers have had a really tough time adjusting. You could get a situation where McLaughlin gets 48 receptions and maybe gets in the end zone again, but I don't like any one of these options. Is a trade a possibility? I'm trying to remember here. Yeah, and yeah, since you're moving for Waddle, none of these options are really very good. It's almost like which one's your favorite flavor, and I've used that expression before. You can go Rashawn Johnson against Arizona. I'm trying to see. I don't remember off the top of my head what he got last week. I know he did get in the end zone. Okay, 2 carries, 6 yards, and a touchdown. He does have 4 touchdowns in the last 4 games. I mean, talent-wise, I like Rashawn Johnson. The only issue is I've been saying this for a while. I really firmly believe Chicago needs to figure out how to get DeAndre Swift more touches. Yeah, I really – there's none of these options are really good. I really, if these are your only options, you're just kind of rolling the dice. I like the idea that you're thinking of trying to get a Waddle trade. It's just what you're going to have to do is you may have to offer a little more out of these guys. You can just throw a dart. Me personally, if I had to play one of these guys, I would play McLaughlin just because I have no confidence in Baltimore's abilities to cover backs out of the backfield. When the Chiefs played Baltimore, one of the things they did very successfully is they used motion, and then once they motioned the receiver inside, and you can do this with tight ends, running backs, or slot receivers, they isolated linebackers in coverage. The defense looked really off. And there's some problems with the Ravens defense, even though they got some really good players. I can see McLaughlin getting some touches. I'm assuming you're in a PPR, by the way. This is like, if you're in a PPR, I can see McLaughlin getting 4 to 7 receptions, but probably limited to under 15 touches. 15 would be the maximum. Zeke may be able to get in the end zone. With Sanders or Hill, you're kind of banking on like just getting them in the game. Rashawn Johnson, Braylon Allen, you're also just banking on a touchdown, not a lot of production. And they're both, both got kind of tough matchups here. So I like the idea about the Waddle trade. I don't know how your fantasy league is set up, what kind of relationship you have with your other players. Some leagues don't trade at all. Some leagues trade quite heavily. You might just have to see. I would target a team desperate for a receiver and see what you can do. Out of these, really, you're just throwing darts. But let me know what you end up doing. All the moves are AFC teams getting better. The Cowboys should. Well, the issue with Parsons is an injury issue. If he's healthy, and he plays this week, then he has some trade value. But if he's not healthy, there's no need to even look at that. You might be better off just waiting till the end of the season. The Cowboys have had injuries on their defensive line, and they're not looking to wave the white flag and give up. They still think that they can make the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, honestly, if they lose to Atlanta this week, they're in really bad shape. But if you beat Atlanta and Parsons can play, and I haven't even looked to see if Parsons can play or not play, but with him being injured, there's no real trade market for him. So, I knew he was on a snap count. I'm just going by what I saw. I thought Nakuda just looked faster. It just kind of felt like Stafford felt a little more comfortable with him. I mean, it's also an age thing. I mean, you got a guy on injuries who's over 30. There wasn't a Nakuda trade talk. There was Cooper Kupp trade talk, and so I mean, don't get me wrong. If you have both Nakuda and Kupp, you're in really good shape. But out of the two, it looks like Nakuda's kind of taken over as the number one guy. That's just kind of how it looks like. I can't wait to watch these two play. I'm talking Rams and Seahawks. I mean, those late games. I mean, all these late games are really, really good. I mean, Philly and Jacksonville. Is there a chance that Jacksonville can make this a game, or Philly? Because if Philly comes out and dominates, and they win a lot of. It's really funny. Nobody's talking about this, and it should be a bigger story. They went to Cincinnati, won by 20. That's really impressive. Chicago at Arizona. That's a fun game. The first place Cardinals. How crazy is that? Detroit at Green Bay. That's going to be a fun game unless Malik Willis plays. Then I won't even watch. Rams and Seahawks. These are the four afternoon games, and all four of these are good games. All four of these are good games. I can't wait to watch the Rams and the Seahawks, though, because I'm going to pay attention to both Kupp and Nakuda and see if I still feel the same way. So, Goggles Chrome, I don't recognize the name. So if you don't mind, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please do that for me, and also check out my weekly picks video. Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts for Week 9. Okay, well, first off, even though Daniels had the late touchdown and the miracle win, he's not 100%. That's something you kind of got to consider. He's going to play. He is going to play, but it is something that I'm considering. You're also going against a really, really, really good Giants front seven, even though they're coming off of a Monday night game. I wouldn't blame you one bit if you go with Jaden Daniels. Look, I would go with Jalen Hurts. And the reason why is that you're at home. You're playing against a bad Jaguars defense. You put up, what was it, 37 against a Bengals defense that was doing well. Now, early in the season, they weren't doing well, but you put up 37 against them. What kind of game did Hurts have? 16 out of 20, 236 and a touchdown, but 3 touchdowns on the ground. Listen to this. 16 out of 20, 80% complete, plus he ran for 3 touchdowns. I'm telling you this right now, the Bengals have a better defense than the Jags. The only way Hurts doesn't do really well for you is if they get up early and they just decide, he was in Pittsburgh. Another brain freeze at 52 minutes. Kenny Pickett. Unless the score gets crazy out of hand. The one thing is about Jacksonville is they do have offensive weapons, so I could see a potential shootout here. Last time Washington and New York played, it was early in the year, but it was like, what, 21-18, something like that. You also have to understand Jalen Hurts not 100%. I would really lean towards Hurt, but I'm going to level with you. If you decide that you want to ride the Jaden Daniels hype train, I would not blame you one bit. I think Jaden Daniels is a legitimate NFL MVP candidate. So that's kind of my thought process. Goggles, let me know what you do, brother. Let me know what you do, and stay in touch with me, and I hope you subscribe. Noah, I was leaning A-Chain as well. Sat him last week for London. Regret that he didn't think he was going to be back that fast. So too, also thought the John catching stride of 322 plus points game in a row. 322 for London or 322 for Bajan. It's funny because somebody gave me some crap about, maybe you want to release A-Chain, and he's like, dude, no, A-Chain's going to blow up as soon as he gets back. And I'm like, well, you got Mozart coming back. He's probably going to go to the bench. I was so wrong. I was so wrong about that. A-Chain, you're a 190-pound running back. I mean, there's always going to be a concern whether you get hurt or not. But as long as he's healthy, go ahead and go for it. I mean, London is playing some really good ball. So a lot of people always feel that if you have a player on the bench that gets a lot of points, it's a bad thing. No, it's always a good thing because you can always make trades and you can always go to that guy. You're in a good situation, Noah. I've been, you've been following me for a couple of weeks, and I know your team's solid. I also want you to stay in touch with me because I think you're going to win your fantasy football league, and I can't wait when you hear that when you win. I hope you share that with everybody. So. Perry, Deontay Johnson trade back to the Ravens. What do you think about that? I think this is genius because he was with the Steelers. The reports were that him and Pickens could not get along. There was all sorts of problems, so they got rid of Johnson instead of Pickens. With Diggs being out, the Texans in Baltimore play on Christmas. Excuse me. So I love this move because I think the Houston Texans should have made this move. Look, Carolina, they're going to rebuild, maybe get a new coach again. I have no idea, but I love it. I love it. I don't think he's going to be wildly productive in the next couple of weeks, but this is a move that you want to make for the playoffs and getting another option. helps. You're also hoping you can reduce some of that wear and tear on Derrick Henry. I mean, you really want to have Derrick Henry healthy for the playoff run. You don't need him in the middle of the season. That said, the loss against Cleveland really hurt because the Steelers are in first place. And because you lost to Kansas City week 1, right now you're 3 or 4 games behind the Chiefs. So you're going to have to go on the road in the playoffs, which means that you're going to have to play multiple playoff games. It's important that Derrick Henry is well rested for those playoff games. So, which tight ends are best to start? That's a great question, man. I can make a strong case for Dalton Schultz for Thursday night. I know he hasn't done much, but this could be a good matchup for him. You know, Diggs is out, Collins is out. The Jets defense has not been good. I always believe in matchups, so that's a possibility. Mark Andrews has been catching touchdowns. It's hard to say. Mike Gesicki has been quietly getting more production with the Bengals. That said, you got a tough Raiders defense. Travis Kelce for my Chiefs is really starting to turn it up. Cade Otton against the Chiefs on Monday night would be an excellent start. Give you a low key move. Noah Fant with the Seahawks might be an interesting move. McBride for the Cardinals has been playing out of his mind. That might be the best tight end in football. Serious. Laporta or Kraft for Lions Green Bay. Njoku is actually an option. Evan Ingram. I know I named about 10 to 12 different names for you. But let me ask you this. IDK. Are you just in a weekly league, or is there like a couple tight ends you're gonna start? If you can just pick tight ends, if you're like doing one of those weekly leagues where you're just picking a tight end, you could go, then you can pick anybody. Otton with Tampa Bay be a good one. I think Hawkinson with Minnesota could have a fantastic game. I think he's going to get his first start on Sunday night against the Colts, a bad secondary. That might be a really good option. McBride's been playing out of his mind, like I said. God, I know I gave you like several different names, but can you do me a favor? Because seriously, you could go with like 12 different tight ends. If you're in a weekly league and you can pick anybody, I like playing guys on Monday night, and you got some good ones. You got Travis Kelce and Otton. But Hawkinson, matter of fact, let's do this here. Let's check out, and keep in mind ESPN's never the best source, but Hawkinson 9 hours ago is questionable, but if he plays, he could just blow up. I mean, you're playing against a bad defense in the Colts, so let me know. Guys, I'm going to take a quick commercial break, but when I come back, I'll come back with hour 2 of Afternoon Delight. Stay tuned. As Afternoon Delight is on a commercial break, we want to remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate of Dan Talks Football. I made my first $100 deposit and it was fast and easy, but check it out for yourself. The video is in the description below. Check out BetUS and start winning today. The award-winning NFL Week 9 picks video is out. Make sure you check it out. Not now, we're on commercial break, but after the show's over,
Check it out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to give me the thumbs up and ring the bell so you don't miss out on upcoming great videos and live streams. Now back to some more Afternoon Delight.
Yes! Hour 1 is in the books. We're going to go with hour 2 here. And reports are the scam Rams are looking to trade Cup. I still been hearing that. I don't believe it anymore because they're basically a half game out of first. And if they can get into the playoffs, I mean, you never know what they can do. I mean, seriously, when they were beat the hell up, they played the Lions really tough. And right now, your Lions are the best team in the NFC, hands down. I don't see it happening, but I've been hearing the reports. It's just that I think the Rams would be a team more apt to add a player than to subtract. But we'll see what happens. I mean, there's always some interesting moves, and I think there's going to be a lot of moves to be made in the next several days. Oh, this is a great question. If you can only start one, if you're in a PPR league, I like Williams the best. If you're in a standard league, I would probably go with Mixon. I think Mixon could easily go over 100 yards against the Jets. The Jets defense is really struggling. Breece Hall, believe it or not, leads the Jets in receptions. That's kind of a fun fact. I didn't know that. I was looking at Breece Hall earlier. I was like, wow, he leads the team in receptions. I have a major man crush on Breece Hall. I really think that in order for the Jets to beat Houston, he has to have a big game. He has to get at least 20 touches. I could see Mixon getting 20 carries. But if I'm in a PPR league, I'm going with Kyren Williams. And I'll tell you why. Even though the Jets defense hasn't been good, they have talent, and you're missing your top 2 receivers on a short week. This kind of benefits the Jets. Houston has a good defense. I am not sold on Seattle at all. I am not sold on Seattle's defense at all. And I really think that, I mean, listen, you're riding a 2-game win streak. You're riding a 2-game win streak. 23 carries, 97 yards, 21 carries, 76 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So over 20 carries. Last week, 5 receptions, 19 yards, and a touchdown. So 28 touches last week against a really good defense. You had 28 touches, 116 yards, and a receiving touchdown. So if you're in a PPR league, I really think that you got to go with Kyren Williams. Plus, the last 3 games, he's had over 20 carries. I didn't know that. Actually, his last 5 games, 24 carries, 19, 22, 21, and 23, and 6 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, go with Kyren Williams. You're playing against a bad defense. Listen to these defenses, by the way. They've had success against San Francisco, the Bears, Packers, Raiders, Vikings. Yeah, go with Kyren Williams. The only thing you may want to worry about with Kyren Williams is that you go with Kyren Williams and they just blow out Seattle, and they give Blake Corum some touches. But I would go with Williams. But I'll be honest with you, Goggles. I could see a situation where all 3 of these guys are really good. If these are your 3 running backs, you're in really, really good shape. Do you have to go with just one? Because these are 3 really good options. Perry, I 100% agree. I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. I mean, if you're talking about how valuable he is for team success, that's what I base the MVP on. Now that said, Mahomes has more interceptions and touchdowns, but are the Chiefs undefeated without Mahomes? No, of course not. So that's why Mahomes is getting some MVP consideration, and other people are like, "Oh, you can't consider him MVP." No, I mean, he's a big part of that. Undefeated. Man, I'm sorry. I apologize for keep rubbing my eyes. But yeah, the dryness in the desert does have an effect on me. But my MVP ballot would be right now today. It would be Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and number 3 I have to think about. You know, I could be Josh Allen. I could throw out Baker Mayfield. I could honestly say Saquon Barkley. I'm not sure. I have to think about it. I'd probably lean towards Josh Allen right now at number 3, but yeah, I seriously think it's Derrick Henry then Lamar Jackson as far as MVP. But if I do agree with you how valuable he is, well, let me ask you this: are the Chiefs undefeated without Patrick Mahomes? The answer is no, they're not. Jared Goff should he be in the MVP consideration? So. Yeah, I've always been a huge Bijan Robinson fan, and I'm glad you got him. You got some stud receivers in Bijan Robinson. You're in really good shape. A guy in my league is trading me Kittle and Jonathan Taylor for Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Huh. Okay. I wanna argue this a little bit, but let me ask you this, NFL casual: do you have an elite tight end? Do you have Bowers, Evan Ingram? I mean, who's your starting tight end? Because I mean, there's not honestly, unless there's only maybe there's probably not 5 tight ends I'm saying I'm starting over Kittle. More than likely you're starting Kittle, and I think that with Flacco into the starting lineup, Jonathan Taylor's value just goes up through the roof. Maybe a tough matchup against Minnesota, but let's do this. I want to make sure I answer all my questions, and I'm going on another one of my rants, but Here's what you're looking at. At Minnesota, home against Buffalo, 2 tough matchups. At New York, not a good defense this year. Home against Detroit. Detroit may be looking ahead to Thanksgiving. Not a good defense. Don't hate me, Lions fans. At New England, good defense, bad team. You have a bye, week 14 bye. At Denver, Tennessee, Giants. Those are 3 good defenses, but you end the season home against Jacksonville. Ideally, it's for a playoff spot. More than likely, your playoffs won't go to 18. Your playoff matchups are probably 15, 16, 17. Now, week 14, you have a bye. Pay attention to that. One thing about Detroit, they had their bye already. So that's one thing you got to think about. Kittle, of course, has his bye this week. That said, I like Kittle more than Montgomery or Gibbs by themselves. I would be shocked if you had a tight end better than Kittle, you might. Maybe you got McBride. Maybe you got Bowers. I actually, tell you the truth, I would take Kittle over Bowers. Let me know if you make this move. I think you have to start Taylor, even though it's a tough matchup. Don't be surprised if Taylor has a good game, though. Don't be surprised. Played college ball there in Wisconsin. Don't be surprised if he goes up north there and has a really good game. Don't be surprised at all. Let me know if you make this trade. There's talk about J.C. Horn being traded to Kansas City. I would be all on board that. His dad played in Kansas City for a while. That's kind of the thought process that the Panthers are going to do, and I'm on board because the Panthers. You have so many questions. Is Bryce Young the answer? I think you should play him and find out, because if you have the number 1 pick in the draft, you have to strongly consider Cam Ward or Shadir Sanders. Or I've heard Nesselman, the LSU quarterback's a first-round pick. I'm so on him. I need to see a little more, but I think the 2 top quarterback prospects are Ward and Shadir Sanders. You need to take a look what you have in Bryce Young. If you have something in Bryce Young, you have a historically bad defense in Carolina. This is the year. You may also be in a situation where you can trade if you end up with the number 1 pick again. This time you could be the team that trades down, accumulates draft capital, build up that defense, or maybe you pick up a quarterback. Maybe you go free agency. It's funny. They've gone free agency and they've gone draft and it hasn't worked. But yeah, I would too. This team's a complete disaster at this point. Just wave the white flag and look, you have some young players on offense. See who's going to stay next year and see what you can build and develop. That's what I would do. Tua plays well in his return from injury. Miami still needs to be proactive and have a real backup quarterback in case Tua goes down again. Well, Huntley is a very solid backup. Now, they did acquire him mid-season, but the longer he's there, the more he's going to learn about the system. This offseason, I could see them adding somebody or maybe trying to sign Huntley full-time. We'll have to wait and see what the Dolphins do. My biggest concern is that Tua just stays healthy at this point. But I think Huntley's a smart move, and honestly, I think we'll see Huntley play again sometime this year. So we'll find out. And we back. Cam, welcome back, brother. Keep in mind, NFL casual, Perry is a Lions fan. But the one issue about having both of those guys is you're not playing both of those guys. You're playing one or the other. By the way, NFL casual. Okay, so you have Njoku, so that move's not. So here's the thing. You have Perry disagrees with you. Here's the issue that I have is that you have a good tight end in Njoku. Combined, Gibbs and Montgomery are going to put more points than Jonathan Taylor. The problem is you can't, or can you start both of them? I don't know your situation. If you're only starting one of those guys, I would make the move for Jonathan Taylor. The problem is if you have Njoku, Kittle's a little better, but it's not a massive improvement. What I would find out if you can do this, is there a way that you can trade Gibbs for Jonathan Taylor straight up? Let me throw that out there. But you have some differences on opinions here. I think Jonathan Taylor's more valuable than either one of these guys separate. together, not as valuable, but you're probably not playing them both of them together. So let me know what you want to do. But I would suggest that you reach back out to the guy and say, hey, look, would you want to give up Taylor for Gibbs? He may see that 75-yard touchdown and he may jump. Never know. Let me know. Let me know. I apologize for the rant, but that's the whole thing, is that more than likely you got two number twos. I think that if you get Taylor, he's the one. Now, if you're starting them both, Taylor's not going to get you as much as both, but more than likely he's not. NFL Casual, can you do us a favor? Can you give us your whole lineup? Unless you already made the trade. If you already made the trade, that's fine. But if you're still debating, you got some really good people in the comment. Perry, I've known Perry for years. He's been a regular, and he is a Lions fan. Cam also has a good point that they can both get you 15. Do me a favor. Can you drop your whole lineup in the chat, and let's kind of dissect this trade a little more, because I think it could be really good. I'm banking on you not starting both of these guys. Cam has a good point. Start both of them. You're going to get 15. You have Njoku. Let's see what you can do. Austin, welcome back, my brother. Would I take Eagles or Lions defense? Okay. If Malik Willis starts, I like the Lions defense. If Jordan Love plays, and I do expect Jordan Love to play, then I would go to Eagles defense. Keep in mind, I do think I'm not really high on either option. I like the Eagles defense better because I do think Jordan Love will play. Here's the problem. Jacksonville has weapons. All right. They have weapons. They're going to put up some points. They're going to put up some points. I don't think this is a situation where you're just going to, I'll be honest with you. The Eagles shut down Cincinnati to 17. I did not see that. I really thought that they were going to point. I really thought that they were going to really put up some more points against the Eagles defense. Jacksonville has a lot of weapons, but they've been really struggling. I fully expect the Eagles to get some sacks, maybe get a pick or two. The thing is with the Lions defense is that if you're going with a backup quarterback, I love the fact that they'll be able to put some pressure. I think you'll get some exotic blitzes. So, yeah. It's no Kirk. If Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't play, definitely go with Philly unless Jordan Love doesn't play. I'm telling you right now, I firmly expect Jordan Love to play. I fully expect Jordan Love to play. So, but yeah, no Brian Thomas Jr. would hurt. I do expect Brian Thomas Jr. to play. However, you've been following me, and you know that I've been wrong on this. You're in luck, Perry. You're in the chat. You tell us. You're a Lions resident. Let me know. Oh man, I'm gonna go with RS, and I apologize. I will mispronounce your name. Lost Rice and Ayuk rest of the season. Have good running back depth with Henry, Kamara. If I trade D-Hawk and Dobbins, who should I try to target? Oh boy. Look, I'm a huge Dobbins fan, and Hopkins' production is going to go up, but Hopkins is a low end too right now. But I do think he has some red zone value. With Juju Smith-Schuster coming back. Ideally, he's coming back. It's really hard to say. I can't really give you a great answer. What you're going to have to do, and there's a lot of factors involved. What you're going to have to do is figure out who on your fantasy football league needs a running back, and that's who I would target, because Dobbins is a very good, I think a running back number one. So you can get a top tier receiver with this trade. In my opinion, you can get a very good receiver. You can get an A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can get one of those guys. I mean, if you're going to trade away two really key players like this, the sky's the limit for what you can get as a receiver. The only receiver you're not going to get, I think, one of the top three. You're not getting Chase. You're not getting Lamb. You're not getting Justin Jefferson. But could you get somebody like Amon-Ra St. Brown or A.J. Brown? Absolutely. You may be able to keep DeAndre Hopkins, and you may want to go with a lower tier receiver who could be a number one. You could go with, you may be able to get somebody like Neighbors, massive upside. You could roll the dice completely and try to go for Tyreek Hill. I really, here's a drill. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take a look, because you have some good running backs. You could also make a move with you. By the way, you may want to trade Kamara instead of Dobbins, but that's on you. Since you want to get rid of Dobbins, I get that. Kamara might have a little more value in your league. Also, I will say this though. Kamara against a bad Panthers defense, you may want to hold on to them this week. So, who in your league needs a running back? That's what I would do, and find out who he does. Because I mean, there's somebody in the chat that has Amon-Ra and Justin Jefferson on the same team. You may have somebody that has, I don't know, CD Lamb and A.J. Brown, but he needs help at running back. In that situation, you may be able to do Dobbins straight up for A.J. Brown. I'm not giving you a great answer here, but you can get a wide receiver number one. You're just probably not getting one, but I consider the top three in Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. But you can get somebody like Amon-Ra. You can get an A.J. Brown. You can get a Neighbors. You may also want to roll the dice with somebody like Tyreek Hill. You might be able to make a lesser trade and get somebody like Xavier Legette with massive upside. You might be able to trade Dobbins straight up for somebody like, I don't know, T. Higgins or Drake London, Amari. Actually, Drake London's been putting up some really good numbers. That may be a guy you could trade straight up for Dobbins. Let me know who in your league needs a running back. That guy's number one receiver, you may be able to make a deal straight up and keep Hopkins. And one thing I always say is that, because it sounds like you're trying to be fair here, win the trade first, win your fantasy football league, and then, somebody commented a while back like, hey, I don't want to screw somebody over because I work with the guy. No, screw that guy over, win the trade, and then after you win your fantasy football league, use some of that money, buy him a Coke or something. But who needs a running back in your league? Who is his number one receiver? That's who you target. Let me know. Hopefully Perry's going to answer this for you, because I think they play a little more zone, but they do play a lot of man. If Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't play, it's a viable option, but if Malik Willis doesn't play, go with the Lions. I've learned that is the best way to evaluate if you're going to get a big week out of Jaden Reed. Yeah, exactly. And you never know if you're going to get big week out of Jaden Reed. The problem is if you got Malik Willis in there, you're not going. I wouldn't bank on Jaden Reed. This is all predicated on whether Malik Willis starts or not. I think Love will start. So, quarterback suggestions this week with Purdy on bye. It might be too late to pick up Winston. Keep in mind, tough matchup against the Chargers, but still viable. Bo Nix, I think, maybe a sneaky good lineup selection. You may be able to get Bo Nix against the Ravens, who I think struggle. And Bo Nix had a great week last week. Bo Nix may be available. Let's do this right now. I don't think he'll be available in your league, but Drake May has been putting up some good numbers. Now, last week he didn't because he was hurt, but he's listed as questionable. Now he's playing against a really good Titans defense, but the Titans gave up 9,000 points last week. Now, a lot of that was on special teams. I'm being facetious, of course, but Drake may be a viable option. Joe Flacco would probably be available. You're playing against a really good Vikings defense. I'm giving you options of people I think that are available. Derek Carr might be available this week. I think let's double check here. I do think Derek Carr is going to play against a god awful Panthers defense. ESPN reports him as questionable. I would, if Derek Carr plays, he should be available, and I think that's probably your best option. By the way, Cam says do it. Let's read it first. I got this offer. I send Jonathan Brooks and Ingram. I get Tyrone Tracy and Tucker Kraft. That's not bad. I actually really, really like this. I really like this. The only thing I would really, really worry about is that in next week when Jonathan Brooks starts, you could have a top 10 fantasy football player. You could also have a guy that's only playing on special teams. I like the move because I think Tyrone Tracy he had a fantastic game. And I think he's ready to blow up. I would really make. I'm going to agree with Cam. I would make this. Yeah. JR Smile. Let me know if you pulled the trigger on this, but looks like I approve, and so is Cam. So. NFL Casual, let's take a look at your roster. You have Baker Mayfield, Gibbs, Monty, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakuda, Njoku, Brian Robinson, Chubb, Javonte, Daryl Mooney, Justin Herbert, and DJ Moore. All right. Cam says don't trade. So you're wanting to trade Monty and Gibbs and add Jonathan Taylor. Now you have Brian Robinson, you have Chubb, you have Javonte. What was the other part of the trade, if I remember right? You were going to trade. You were going to get Kittle. Tell you the truth, I would really want to. Here's the deal with Coop and Nakuda. Which one's going to be more productive? Um, this is not a bad team, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm having a hard time just figuring out who you start because I recommended last week to start Javonte Williams, and he didn't play well, but he did get 21 touches. Chubb has a tough matchup against the Chargers, but could be really, 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 really good. I would probably go Baker over Herbert, but Brian Robinson's not a bad player. Tough matchup, but you might be in a situation where you play both Gibbs and Monty, and then you have to figure out Chubb or Javonte in this flex. You could go with both Rams receivers and Njoku. If you do make the trade, going forward, you would start Kittle. He's healthy. Taylor would be your number one guy, and then you're banking on either Chubb or Javonte. I'll be honest with you. After this week, you may. I would really keep this roster because what I'm looking at is I don't know what kind of production you're going to get out of Cooper Kupp and Nakuda. If Cooper Kupp and Nakuda both look like viable options as starters, I'm looking at DJ Moore, and I'm looking at DJ Moore as a name that you may be able to package. You may be able to package like Moore and like one of the Lions running backs and get something maybe a little better trade wise. But I really don't like this roster. I'm just trying to figure out who you're going to start. You might just want to keep this as is and listen to Cam. I mean, the one issue that you would have is you have some tough matchups at quarterback, but you may want to keep this lineup as is. I'll tell you this, with the two Rams receivers, if both of them end up being number ones, you're in really, really, really good shape. So, would I drop Rodgers for Drake May? Right now, I wouldn't. The reason why is you don't know the status of Drake May. With Rodgers, you still got a guy that's putting up fantasy football points. I know Cam says he stinks, but he's still getting you some points. Drake May is an unknown quantity right now. Last week, 233, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against a good Patriots defense. That's not bad. Drake May got almost nothing in an injury. And keep in mind, if Drake May is healthy, he's still going against a tough Titans defense this week. I don't know who your other quarterback is, but with Drake May, you have a complete unknown. With Rodgers, you're definitely getting points. And keep in mind, I do think Rodgers' value is going to go up. I really do. I mean, look, he's got Adams now for a longer period of time. Before it's only a few weeks. You're in a situation on Thursday night with Diggs tearing his ACL that you can get a win. So, Manor Zone. London or Cook in the flex. Donnie Kane. I don't recognize the name. Interesting thumbnail. I can't tell what it is. It looks like Oh, I can't remember the guy from the Wonder Years. Kevin's brother. That's what it looks like. All right. I always believe in going with a 3-down back, but in this situation, you're in a good situation because you can go with either one. Now, the one thing I like about Cook is that you're going against a bad Dolphins defense, and you're a 3-down back. I really, really, really like this play. I would go with Cook, but London, I have a feeling will get you some points. So I would go with Cook. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. So I absolutely would consider trading Reed because this is a guy that you can sell high. And you're right, he is very inconsistent. Um, I don't know if I would give up on Kareem Hunt, but if you're going to do something like this, you need to get a legitimate running back or wide receiver number one. Bo Nix. I really like Bo Nix this week. He had a great game against a terrible Panthers defense, but here's why I really like this. And by the way, Cam, if you haven't already, check out my video. I love the Ravens Broncos over under. That's my play of the week. And right now, ESPN has it at 45.5. BetUS had it at 45.5 also. So, I mean, I really think this is going to end up being a shootout. I think even though Denver's defense is really good, Baltimore, I think, can put up 30 against almost anybody. I really believe that. Baltimore's defense is not good. It's just not. And Bo Nix has been playing pretty damn good. So, yeah, he's still banged up. I'll be honest with you. I like quarterbacks against bad defenses. Now Tennessee gave up a lot of points, but that was more of a special teams and offense snafu than Golf just tearing them apart. I mean, it was kind of comical. Like Golf had like 26 yards passing in the first half or something like that. I would go with Bo Nix over Drake May, but I wouldn't blame you because Drake May, fantasy wise, has been putting up a lot of points. I think you were the one that was telling me that. As a player, I think May is making some mistakes, and I don't particularly like the way he's playing. As a fantasy football owner, May's been putting up some points. But if you got Bo Nix, I would go with Nix, but I wouldn't blame you. Yeah, I've been saying this for a while. It's a complete. I've been saying this all off season that if you had to give me a team, um, if you had to give me a team that's most likely to have the number one pick in the draft, it would be the Tennessee Titans because everything is mixed matched with the team. You bring in the offensive coordinator from the Bengals, and what do the Bengals run? A quick rhythm passing offense that requires, just to go back, ding, 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 ding. And yeah, quarterback and Will Levis, who's never done that. And his strength is going downfield. You pick up an offensive lineman from Alabama who played right tackle in college. You move him over to the left side, not a problem. Your dad is one of the best offensive line coaches in the league, but he's also a guy that was like a massive road grader. And you bring in Pollard, who's not a tackle-to-tackle runner. I mean, nothing that the Titans did really made a lot of sense. I could see that. The thing is, though, with New England, the one thing about the Titans is they do have talent on that front seven, and the Titans defense matches up very well against the Patriots. So, but I could see Tennessee just moving on, realizing that they made a mistake from moving on from Vrabel. They never got over the AJ Brown trade, and I think they know Will Levis isn't really the guy. So, yeah, I think Tennessee may just be one of those teams that may just have to take an atom bomb to their roster, and they're in bad shape because if they like Shadir Sanders, he's not going to Nashville. I can guarantee you that. Like Shadir Sanders is not going to Nashville, and he's not going to Carolina. Cam Ward, on the other hand, could be a nice option. But yeah, I could see that. My options are Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, Herbert, Carr, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Stafford, Winston, and Flat. Wow. Wow. The way Dallas's defense has been playing, Cousins is solid. I like Darnold against a bad Colts defense. Stafford is solid against what I think is a very I'm not buying in the Seattle's defense at all. Winston's interesting, but you're going against a tough Chargers defense. I would kind of rule out that. Same thing with Flacco. I mean, basically, here's would be my options. I would go with Cousins, Darnold, or Stafford. The one thing about Stafford is that you got Kupp and Puka both coming back. Darnold's playing with maybe the best receiver in football against a bad Colts defense. So that's another thing to consider. I could see a situation. Here's the drill. I could see a situation with Darnold where the Vikings just blow out the Colts and you're just, hey, we're just going to kind of run the ball and, we're okay. I have a hard time believing Atlanta's just going to blow Dallas out. So no matter what kind of a lead they get, that could be a shootout. Even if the Rams take a lead on the Seahawks, I see Stafford still throwing. So I think you got Cousins, Darnold, or Stafford. You've heard me say this before. It's kind of what flavor do you like the best, chocolate or strawberry? There's no real right answer. I haven't checked the weather report. I mean, you do have an option. You do have a weather issue possibly in Seattle. Keep in mind, rain's not a factor. Rain combined with wind might be. Darnold, of course, playing in the dome. That's not going to be an issue. Atlanta playing in the dome, not an issue. But I mean, these are three really good, solid options. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of leaning towards Stafford because I really like having those two receivers, and Kyron Williams is an excellent running back. You're the healthiest you've been all week or all year, and you need to win. And I would not be surprised if, no matter what the score is, if the Rams are being aggressive. But you got some good options, man. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I didn't know that. I honestly didn't know that. I did not know that. I did not know Tyrone Tracy was concussed. He entered a concussion protocol earlier today. I didn't know that. Reed or DK for the rest of the season. The issue that you have with the issue that you have with Reed is you have a lot of up and down. The one thing about DK Metcalf is that he's been very consistent, which is a little surprising. In the past, the biggest issue with DK Metcalf is that he's just been up and down, but he's been wildly consistent and productive. With Jalen Reed, you have no idea what you're going to get. So I like DK Metcalf. Look, you're never going to get a better size speed combo than DK Metcalf. I mean, the dude's 230 and he can outrun anyone. I mean, and you also have other receivers on the roster, so you can't just double team the guy. Geno Smith will throw the ball up. And also you have a bad defense there. One thing with Reed is that this is the second time this year Jordan Love's gone down. There's so many other weapons. With Reed, you never know. I would go with DK. So Perry says otherwise. Hey, man, I really don't feel like I gave you a great answer here, RS. I really don't feel like I gave you a good answer, and I apologize because I my goal is to help everybody out, and I don't think I did. The last one, no, I didn't. What I did is by the way, Craig, do me a favor. Check out my weekly picks video. It'd really help out if you did. It helps you do algorithm when you have comments in the first 24 hours. So, but no, I haven't had a chance. So what I stayed up till 5 in the morning, and then I woke up and I did research for the video. So not yet. Not yet. Hopefully I helped you out, man. I really don't feel like I did, but let me know what you end up doing. So DK, here's the thing. DK Metcalf in the past has been wildly inconsistent. This year he's been a lot more consistent. Let's just go over the numbers because this has been unusual because DK Metcalf, by the way, he is questionable on the injury report, but this year he's been a lot more consistent than he has in the past. Wrong button there. Last week, 4 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown. Solid performance. The week before that, 3 catches, 48 yards against 49ers. Not a good performance. 4 catches, 55 yards against the Giants. Not a great performance. But before that, 7 for 104. 4 for 104, 10 for 129. So 3 consecutive 100-yard games followed by 55, 40, 48, 99, only 1 touchdown. Here's the thing, though. I'm also looking at targets. Last 5 games, 7 targets, 11 targets, 7 targets, 12 targets, 6 targets. In the game, he had 6 targets against Miami, a 24-3 win. Probably would have had more. 4 receptions, 104, and a touchdown. So, I mean, the Giants and 49ers had good defenses. I like DK Metcalf better because, I mean, right now, 7 games in the season, 35 catches, 568, 3 touchdowns. He's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. I think the production touchdown-wise is just going to go up. So with Reed, wildly inconsistent. You have no idea. Plus, you have Jordan Love, who has been knocked out of the lineup twice. So I would go with DK Metcalf, but that would be on me. I think he would. I think he would have, Cam. I agree with you. I think he would have had a great game against the Jets if he didn't get knocked out. Concussions, of course, are strange. From what I've seen of him, watching him play, as as a fantasy football owner, I loved it as somebody watching him as a future franchise quarterback. I was like, oh God, I want to see some things. I want to see him do some things different. Tennessee does have a good front seven, but Perry has a good point. They just seemed. Look, I mean, listen. When you get beat that bad and you're shell shocked and you're losing, do you come back the next week mad, or you just give up on the season? And it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm gonna watch a lot of that New England Tennessee game because if Drake May does play, I want to see how he does. I want to see if Tennessee looks like they're going to fall apart and start getting rid of players and prepare to have the number one pick in the draft where they'll need to draft a quarterback. Siobhan 1107. Hey Dan, how's it going? Yeah. It's going great, brother. How are you doing? At Austin with DK Metcalf, you don't know if he will play well. Reed is playing well right now. I think he'll have a good game Sunday. Keep in mind, he could have a good game only if Jordan Love is the quarterback. Wayne Jason Harvey. Is that who it is? I love that show, man. It's funny because I was looking at it not too long ago, and I had no idea it was on the air for so long. But like the first couple of years it came out, I loved it. Me and Kevin were about the same age, you know. So it was kind of neat. It was kind of neat, you know. Actress who played Winnie Cooper still does like a voiceover for like for a few shows. Ended up being like a mathematician, and she's still really attractive too, which is rare for somebody in her 40s. But yeah, she's beautiful. But he hasn't played well. 22 receptions, 55 yards against the Texans, and only 10 receiving yards. Which one? Yeah, I mean, you got potential. Here's the thing with Reed, you got wild potential, but you just don't know. Plus, I think Malik Willis plays that's really going to kill you. I have Breece Hall, A-Chain, Monty, Tyrone Tracy, and Chase Brown plus. Please, pick 2 and 1 flex 10-man full PPR league. Thanks. All right. We just found out Tyrone Tracy is on the injury report. That's a big deal because I really like the guy's game, and I'm also not really high on Washington's defense, even though they played really well. So, A-Chain had a phenomenal game last time he played the Bills. Even though they lost by 21 points, he had a fantastic game. You know I love Breece Hall. Chase Brown potentially could have a good game against the Raiders, and Amani could have a good game against the Lions. All right. Let's do this. I would start Breece Hall against a tough Texans defense. I still would start Breece Hall. I really would. All right. Thursday night game, they got to get the win. It's a home game, primetime game. I would start Breece Hall. All right. I would also start A-Chain. I know I've been anti-A-Chain in the past, but The last time he played against Buffalo, plus Miami seems to really want him. Another thing is that in order to beat the Bills, they're going to have to score a lot of points, and they like him. He had a big game last time against the Bills, so I would go with Hall and I would go with A-Chain. Now, here's your problem: Monty, Tracy, and Brown. Which one do you flex? I would go with Tracy if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, you have Monty, who I think will put up some points against the Packers, but I think you're limited because he's splitting touches with Gibbs. You have Brown, who they like giving Brown the ball more than they like Zach Moss. The issue I would have is that I could see a situation where Cincinnati gets up. The Raiders' offense is so limited that they go with Zach Moss, the bigger, more physical back. That's kind of your options. Breece Hall and A-Chain are 1 and 2. Tyrone Tracy's your flex. If he doesn't play, I would go with Brown, even though I firmly believe you're leaving some points on the board with Monty. Like, Monty's guaranteed points. Like Monty's going to be a guaranteed 10. I think you're going to get some points with Hall and A-Chain. I would roll the dice with Tracy if he plays, and then I would roll the dice again with Chase Brown. Keep in mind, if you're in a situation where you need guaranteed points, go with Monty. He's probably going to get you 10 to 15. So I don't agree with that at all, Austin. I mean, Kenneth Walker has been in and out of the injury lineup, and Aaron Jones has been in and out of the injury lineup. Kareem Hunt's a very solid start. Keep in mind, if Kenneth Walker is healthy and Aaron Jones is healthy, absolutely, but both these guys have been banged up throughout the season. Kenneth Walker, by the way, last week, 9 carries, 12 yards. I mean, 4 receptions for 33. Kareem Hunt easily outperformed that. Aaron Jones has some age, so I get what you're saying, and he's an excellent trade option, but I wouldn't say that at all. I actually think that he's a viable start. And I'll be honest with you, I like Aaron Jones against a very bad Colts defense. You may want to start Hunt over Walker this week. Maybe. And the reason why I say that is that the Bucs have a good defense, but the Bucs offense is limited. I could see Kansas City doing the same thing that they did against the Raiders and give Kareem Hunt over 20 touches again. He doubled the touches Kenneth Walker had. So I don't really agree with that statement, but I like what you're thinking of. Hey, let's improve the roster, and you have running backs that you can trade. You could trade either one of these. The only one I wouldn't trade would be John Robinson, but you have some running backs that you can trade. Absolutely. Yeah, no, Cam, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. It's just that Bo Nix has shown steady improvement, and I like what he's doing. I like more fantasy wise than I do the way he's playing as okay, so I have a guy, Keaton, he's come on the show several times. So he's a big Patriots fan. And hey, how do you feel about Drake May? I don't know. How do I feel about Bo Nix? Yeah, you got something there in Denver. And he's just getting better and better and better. So I'm going to take a quick commercial break, but I'll get back with hour 3 of Afternoon Delight, so stay tuned.
As Afternoon Delight is on a commercial break, we want to remind you that BetUS is a proud affiliate of Dan Talks Football. I made my first $100 deposit and it was fast and easy, but check it out for yourself. The video is in the description below. Check out BetUS and start winning today. The award-winning NFL Week 9 picks video is out. Make sure you check it out. Not now, we're on commercial break, but after the show's over, check it out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to give me the thumbs up and ring the bell so you don't miss out on upcoming great videos and live streams. Now back to some more Afternoon Delight.
All right. 2 hours in the books. Hour 3 is here. DK Metcalf last week. You're correct. He didn't play last week. I'm sorry, I misread this, but no, he didn't play last week. And questionable. Error on my part. I was reading this, and he played against Atlanta, didn't play against Buffalo. Misread that, so yeah. JR Smile. All right, I did the Brooks Ingram trade for Tracy and Kraft. Hopefully it plays out. Yeah, I didn't realize Tracy was on the concussion list. That said, there's no guarantee that Brooks is going to play either. I think it works out for you, man. Good luck, brother. Stay in touch with me. Let me know how you do. Teams of bad running backs across have Waddle, Puka, okay. All right. This is good. All right. So the guy I would target, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, Lamb would be the number one guy. You have some really good options here. You have some really, really good options. All right. Teams with bad running backs across the board. Waddle, pass. You could roll the dice with Puka if you want. I would like to see you go after. So here's what you need to do. I would reach out and see if you can get, see if somebody wants to make a move. I don't know how you get along with the I'm looking at the three I'm looking at. I'm looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm looking at Lamb, and I'm looking at Neighbors. All right. I'm looking at those three in particular. All right. I would reach out and say, listen, hey, I need some help at receiver. I got Higgins. What can we work out? And they'll try not to get rid of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Neighbors, and CD Lamb. I'm assuming they're three different people. All right. I would reach out to all three of them and say, look, I got Dobbins. I got Dobbins. Can we work something out? And I would enter the discussion open-ended, because they're probably not going to try to give up those three. Then I would say, well, look, I can add Hopkins, another wide receiver. Ideally, they're looking at Hopkins as a big name. And you can say, hey, look, how about I throw in Hopkins for Amon-Ra St. Brown, 2 for 1. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's kind of the one I'm targeting, because I think out of Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Lamb, you may be able to make a case with Amon-Ra St. Brown and say, hey, look, Jameson Williams is coming back next week. You got 2 really good running backs. Hopkins is going to be wildly productive going forward. and see if that would work. But I would see you may be able to make out a deal just Dobbins for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Keep in mind the guy that has Neighbors, he may be like, well, he had that concussion. Maybe you may luck out and one of these guys is an Ohio State or Chargers fan and really wants Dobbins. That's what I would do. I would just throw out Dobbins to all three of these people. And I would say, look, I need some help at receiver. I got Dobbins. What can we do? I would keep it open-ended. They're probably not going to come back with their number one guy, but you could say, hey, look, when they fire back with a number two receiver, you could say, hey, listen, I already got Hopkins, and I think his production value is just going to go up. True statement. Hey, look, you can, and here's how you downgrade Lamb. Look, Dallas is falling apart, and Tolbert is probably going to get some more touches. Neighbors has the concussion issue. Jameson Williams is coming back to the Lions. And I'm really thinking you may be able to work something out with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I really do. But you probably have to package something with Dobbins. You may be able to do Dobbins straight up for Devontae Smith or Olave or Waddle, but I don't want you to do that. Maybe Higgins. I mean, you may be able to do Dobbins straight up, but I really want you to target because I want you to get a stud receiver. See what target those three guys, throw out Dobbins, just throw it out there, kind of like use a fist analogy, just throw it, just cast out the trade. They'll fire back with not one of these guys, and then you could say, you know what? I already got Hopkins. He's just as good as blah, 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 blah. Whether he is or not doesn't matter. And plus, he's with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this production's just going to go up. But you know what? I'll do Dobbins and Hopkins for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe luck out and you get a Chiefs fan. Let me know what you do, and let me work out. I agree completely. I seriously think if Willis plays, Lions win by double digits. That's smart. I like that. Which is why I'm still thinking about, I don't think DK is extremely better than Reed. It's pretty even. To your point, Reed's, I agree. It's just, it's all over the place. I messed up and I actually didn't realize he didn't play. Keep in mind, I once I saw that the Bills game was a blowout, I didn't see. I'm sorry. I was looking at Perry's. The caffeine's kind of got me all over the place. I still would go with DK Metcalf because I think that when he plays, he's still productive. With Reed, you have questions about quarterback and the performances are up and down, but I wouldn't blame you if you kept Reed. And then here's the thing is that you have, let's say Reed explodes, okay? You can always sell high. The Titans should trade down to get enough draft capital in 2026 draft to make a play on Arch Manning. This is what you kind of threw me off here because here's the drill. Here's the drill. Eli Manning was drafted by the Chargers, not the Giants. And then his dad said, hey, we're not going to play for the Chargers franchise. So you already have something like that already in place with Eli. So you can't bank on Arch Manning being available in 2026. Now, that said, I think teams like Carolina, Tennessee, maybe even the Giants, possibly the Raiders, should all consider this. I mean, teams that are really looking at a quarterback should make a play because I think Arch Manning, I think Arch Manning is a better prospect right now today. I mean, keep in mind, he could get injured. It's unlikely, but there could be like an off-field incident. I mean, it's extremely unlikely, but you never know. But right now, I mean, the two top quarterbacks look like it's Shadir Sanders and Cam Ward, and I think Manning has more upside and ability than both. But the thing is, you can't bank on that. And the Manning family they played around with Eli, so there's a good chance that they would play around with Tennessee, even though he's from. I want to say that he's from Mississippi. I'm not really sure, but I mean, I know it's an SEC country there, but you can't bank on that. I'll be honest with you. From what I've seen of Cam Ward, I think Cam Ward would fit in what Brian Callahan wants to do more than either one of the quarterbacks they currently have. The problem is, I don't think he's coming back. I think Tennessee may just want to clean house and just jettison players, get a lot of draft picks, and just rebuild completely. I have no idea. But the bank on Manning, there's a good chance that even if they had the number one pick, Manning could do just like Eli Manning did and say no. And it would make sense because the franchise of the Titans right now is not good. Is it as bad as Carolina? No, but it's not good. I mean, there's no guarantee. The way the day and age that we're at right now, Deion Sanders has already been public saying, hey, I'm going to be very involved in the draft process. Archie Manning was very involved in Eli's process, so you can't bank on this. That's a good point, though. But if I was a team that can't get my quarterback this year, I would make a move. I'm looking at the Raiders specifically. If they can't get their guy to make a move, trying to think of other the Cleveland Browns. It would not surprise me if they want to make a move like this. Same situation though. Can you convince Arch Manning to come to Cleveland? The New York Jets. Arch Manning to New York in 2026 makes a lot of sense. Same thing with Giants. That's a good point. Chiefs versus Tampa or Vikings versus the Indies defense? I wish I could tell you Chiefs. I love the Vikings defense. You're going against a backup quarterback, but I love when Flacco comes in that the Colts just look instantly better. I honestly, I really think that Tampa Bay is going to cause some problems for Kansas City. I really do. I really do. I think it's going to be a very, very close game, and I think Baker Mayfield is going to play pretty well. Look, I mean, Monday night, you're at home, you're undefeated, you have a really good defense. I get it. I would still go with the Vikings, as much as I wish I could pull the homer on you, but yeah. Want to keep Mahomes and drop Tua so I can pick up another wide receiver, hopefully down, so Flacco being the starter and AR5 being benched. It's a one quarterback league. Is this a good move? Let me ask you this here, because I mean it sounds like you're dropping Tua and you want to get downs, and picking up downs I think would be really smart. But let me ask you this here. Before you do this, is there any possibility that you can trade Tua? It's a one quarterback league. I understand. But is there any possibility that you can trade Tua before you do this? So, So Andy Reid, it's funny that you say that. Andy Reid's first year here came off of a 2-14 season, and he started 9-0. I know Patrick Mahomes has started off 4-0 a couple times. I'm not sure he started off 7-0, but the Chiefs have gone 9-0. Andy Reid's first season. Andy Reid's had a 5-game winning streak every single year he's been in Kansas City. There's been a few times he started off 5-0. I know Mahomes has started off 4-0 a couple times. I don't know off the top of my head if he started 7-0, but Andy Reid's first season in Kansas City, they actually started off 9-0. Unfortunately, they finished 11-5. But it's not really uncharted territory. I'm going to be honest with you. When the Chiefs play Buffalo in Buffalo, that's where I see the first loss. So. Mahomes era for sure. No, the Chiefs started off 9-0 a couple times. I do know that. God, Slasher's good. I know Perry's good. I honestly have right now. Right now, I think Detroit may be the best team in the NFC, and I don't think Philly's too much off. I'll be honest with you. I can't wait to watch Philly and Washington play, and I think it's coming soon. Yeah, it's they play on the 14th and the 22nd, late in the year. On the 14th, it's a Thursday. Oh God, a Thursday night. Oh my God, this is gonna be so much fun. All right. Oh God, I'm geeking out over this potential matchup here. Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night, November 14th, Washington at Philly. Wow. What a great game that's going to be. Right now, seriously, today, if you want to tell me Washington's better than Philly, I'd listen to that argument. But for my money, right now, I think it's a very good chance the two best teams in the NFC are Detroit and Philly. If you want to tell me the Packers, I'd say great. How's Jordan Love's health? If you want to tell me Minnesota, I'd say they just lost to the Rams. So, I mean, you could have the two best teams in the NFC right now. I wouldn't blame you, man. I mean, it's a small sample size. I mean, it's a really small sample size. But the one thing I do want to point out is that when he came out of Tennessee, I really liked him. Size-speed combo, lots of potential. But then the Jerry Jeudy move led me to believe that they really just didn't like this kid that much, and that he wasn't developing. But yeah, I mean, you got some players. I like this. I'm pulling for you, man. Yeah, you're right. Wayne was the older brother name. Yeah, I remember it was Wayne. Jason Harvey was the actor that played him on the show. If a woman takes care of herself, they look beautiful in their old. Yeah, I was it Danielle McConnor, something like that. It's kind of so. What I do is that I watch Plex sometimes, and I always kind of look at the actors, and like she's a voice actor in a show I like, and I was like, oh my God, she still looks great. And then I was really surprised. Yeah. No, it was funny. I dated a girl who, my cousin Vinny. What's the actress's name? She was in the Spider-Man, but that's when she got older. But when she was young, the girl and my cousin Vinny, I forgot her name. Anyway, I dated a girl looked just like that, but she drank and smoked today. She looks just terrible. You know. C-Dog, welcome, brother. Trade Jamar and Jacobs for Breece Hall, James Cook, and Jalen Reed. Man, so what you're looking at is you're getting two really good running backs and a receiver as you're going up and down. Look, Jamar Chase, in my opinion, is a top 3 receiver in fantasy football, maybe the number 1 guy. And you're in a pass happy offense. You're going to get a lot of points that you're giving up. Jacobs, I'll be honest, I like both Hall and Cook a little better than Jacobs. The thing is with Jaden Reed is that you're giving up a solid number 1 for who knows what you're going to get. So I'm not look, here's your problem is you're upgrading your running back position big time. I think. I mean, you're getting 2 really good options, and both these guys could blow up this week. I mean, I think Cook could have a terrific game against Miami, and I think Breece Hall might be a must play. Look, I understand. I'm gonna look because I actually don't know off the top of my head what his numbers were, but I know he had 6 touchdowns going into the game. So he had a touchdown last week, 9 catches, 54 yards. So here's the deal. Jamar Chase leads the NFL in receiving yards. He leads the NFL in touchdowns. And the issue is that with the Cincinnati Bengals is that you're a team that's struggling. You're 3-5, but you're going against. I mean, the schedule. I don't think Baltimore's defense is all that good. I mean, you can't really make the argument schedule wise because I'm not sold on Dallas. Denver's defense is good. Steelers defense good. Play Steelers twice. I mean, look, you're giving away the number 1 receiver, and I'm gonna level with you, man. I'm not as high on Jaden Reed as a lot of people because you have no idea what to expect. And when Malik Willis enters the game, his value is null and void. You do. I like Breece Hall better than Jacobs, and I like James Cook better than Jacobs. I really do. Especially if you're in a PPR league. I'm assuming it's a PPR league. I mean, I just have a hard time. I just really have a hard time banking, giving up I would rank him number 3. I would go CeeDee Lamb, Jefferson, Jamar Chase in that order as far as fantasy football receivers. But the guys leading the NFL in yards and touchdowns you want to get rid of for a guy that you have no idea. Jacobs is solid, by the way. C-Dog, Can I? Who are? If you don't want to give me your whole roster, give me your receivers. Because if I made this move, I would want to make a move to get somebody who can get me some solid production at receiver and not bank on upside. But man, I would really, as much as I like the move for getting 2 potentially starters at running back, or I'm assuming you're in a 2 running back, 2 receiver, 1 flex league. You're getting 2 starters here at running back, but I mean, Reed's a big question mark. There would be some exceptions, but I would really hate for you to give up maybe the best receiver in football for a minor upgrade at running back, a running back, and then a running back number 1 and an unknown at receiver. Chargers, Vikings, Saints, or Eagles defense this week. iTag. Welcome, brother. I want to tell you the Vikings, but with Flacco coming in, there's an unknown. I do like what Jameis Winston's bringing. I'm kind of buying into that. I do like the Saints defense against a bad Panthers team. I'm not gonna lie, I think everything's bad about the Panthers, and then I think the Eagles will put up some points. I will tell you this, like I do expect the Eagles to put up some points, but I think Jacksonville will get some points in return. I mean, you're banking on sacks and turnovers with the Eagles. The Saints are in the best position, in my opinion, to get the shutout. I mean, this. Remember earlier they played like 41-10. Like it wouldn't surprise me if this game was ugly, like 27-7. Vikings defense, I would have told you before Flacco started, but look, you still got an older veteran quarterback who. And by the way, I know people are like, "Oh, look, Flacco's mobile. He ran, blah blah." No, you're going against a fast, confusing defense. So, I would go with Vikings or Saints, and I'm kind of leaning towards the Saints. If they want to rescue their season, and I don't think there's much chance that they have to rescue their season, but they have to start this week. And but I'll be honest with you, I can make arguments for all four. I'm rolling the Chargers out. The issue I have with the Eagles is that I do think Jacksonville has enough talent and will put up some points. So I would fight Vikings or Saints, and I would lean towards the Saints because I think it's much more likely the Saints pitch to shutout. So Tillman or Downs on waivers. I like them both, man. I really like them both at this point. If you have to choose, yeah, Cam says pick up both. If I had to choose one, I would go with Tillman. The one thing I want to say about Downs, the only negative is that you have Alec Pierce there. They have this guy, Adonde Mitchell, second-round pick out of Texas. I love this dude. I really think that he should have been a first-rounder. 6'2", 205, 210, ran a 4.33. By the way, it wouldn't surprise me if last half of the season he really starts to get a lot of targets and receptions out. Flacco's there. I would go Tillman. The last 2 weeks, he looks like a legit number one. But, I mean, you know, Cam has a good point. Pick up both if you can. But I like, if you have to use one or the other, go with Tillman. Yeah, this Lions team is a powerhouse, and I do want to watch what Tennessee does. I want to see if Tennessee just falls apart and then just decides to hey, we're just gonna make a move mid-season. Hey, this isn't working out. We've hired Callahan, a coach with no experience, and it didn't work, and just move on fast. Wouldn't surprise me if they did that. But you're right. This is what good teams do. They just destroy bad teams. But now you play a good team, maybe a backup quarterback. So we'll see. I would not blame you at all. I'll be honest with you. I mean, the Rams defense is not a powerhouse, and the Bucks do have a good defense. So yeah. Walker did not have a good game, but I mean the Rams defense is a little up and down, and they are young. It's just that I just think that this is look, you beat the Vikings on Thursday. You had an extra few days rest. You got some young players on that front seven. I'm not high on the Seahawks at all. So the one thing I will say is that it looks like Kareem Hunt will get 20 touches again. Walker last week only got 10. Another thing is that Charbonnet is really good. I mean, they may get him more involved this week. I have no idea. I mean, this is a good problem to have where you have multiple, 3-down backs. So the difference is between Walker and Hunt. Hunt may get 20 touches. He's not breaking anything big. I mean, he's really just moving the chains. Where Walker's a big time threat. I mean, Kareem Hunt, I think it was like 21 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown. That's what you're going to get. He's a bigger running back. He's not a home run threat, or Walker is a home run threat. So. Gatelin, what's up, brother? Yo, what's up, Dan? How much is Deontay's trade going to affect his fantasy value? I think his fantasy value will dip quite a bit early on anyway. You're going from a team that was more of a pass-happy team to a team that's revolved around the running game. It's going to take him a little bit of time to get adjusted. I would expect, don't get me wrong, I mean, he may have 3 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown, and people will say, "Oh, you want to pick him up?" But Zay Flowers is the number one guy. They still got Rashad Bateman. I think this is more of a hey, it's going to take him a little bit of time, and but for the next couple of weeks, I'm not expecting Deontay really to have a lot. So. This I do agree with. I mean, he's still going to be the main running back for the next couple of weeks, and he is going to put up points. He's a 3-down back. So, yeah. Keon Coleman, Jacoby Myers, or Devontae Smith, please pick 2 wide receivers and a Hawk or Njoku at the tight end for week number 9. So, first of all, you don't know if Hawk's going to play or not, but if he does, I would go Hawkinson over Njoku, just because I think the Colts defense is terrible. This is tough because you have a bad defense in Jacksonville, so I kind of like Devontae Smith, even though he's the number 2 guy, and Barkley's could potentially just have a monster game as well. This could be a situation where Devontae, Eagles blow him out, and Devontae Smith gets 3 catches, 30 yards. I also could see Devontae having a huge game. I mean, but he's got really good potential. I think Jacksonville's defense is terrible. The Raiders, I mean, Myers is the main guy. There are some holes in the Bengals defense, but I expect the Bengals defense to play pretty well this week. Keon Coleman's interesting. I don't have a lot of confidence in Miami's defense. So I would go with some upside with Coleman. I'm leaning towards Devontae Smith, just matchups. I like the Coleman-Smith matchup more than I like Myers against. I know they gave up 37 to the Eagles. Trust me, it'll be a little different. I expect the Bengals to kind of shut down the Raiders. But you're in a good situation tight end wise. These 3 receivers I'm not a fan of, but your tight ends I like. I don't think you make a bad decision whichever tight end you go with. Pay attention to injury report. If it looks like Hawk's going to play, I would start him. If he's on the injury report later in the week, Thursday, Friday, just plug in Njoku and don't think about it. And Njoku, by the way, could have a monster game. Keep in mind, Chargers have a good defense. So, that really doesn't have much to do with it. What Eli and Arch played at Ole Miss and Archie played at Ole Miss, and then Arch plays at Texas. The reason why they didn't want to go to the Chargers is Chargers have a bad franchise. Right now, Tennessee has a bad franchise, and that's what they're looking at. And you're also looking at endorsement opportunities too. Nashville is a bad market with a bad team. So Peyton playing at Tennessee, the reason why he went to, Tennessee was Philip Fulmer was an excellent coach. They had a lot of talent. He knew that going there he would have an opportunity to win a Heisman. Debatable if he should beat Woodson or not. That's up for debate. I think they got it right. I think Woodson deserved the trophy. Played in the SEC, which is a big deal. But no, I really don't think that. Look, I mean, they turned down the Chargers, and the reason why is the Chargers franchise is not good right now. Tennessee doesn't have a good franchise, and so no, I don't buy that argument at all. You could also say Irsay didn't have a good franchise either with the Colts, and that's fair. But with Eli, I mean, look, it's very rare for a team to draft a guy number 1 overall and for him to say, "No, we're not going to play here." It happened with Eli Manning, and the reason why is it was a bad franchise. So if you're Tennessee, here's your argument. Hey, let's trade back. Let's trade capital right off 2025 and tank for the possibility of Arch Manning in 2026. I don't think that's a good move because you can't bank on Manning in 2026. And the Manning family said no to the Chargers because they're a bad franchise. Well, if you tank 2 consecutive seasons, you have a bad franchise. I don't buy that argument, Perry. I have to disagree with you there. If I'm Tennessee, though, I take a look at Shadir Sanders, who probably won't go there, and I look at Cam Ward. If you don't believe all in Cam Ward, and you meet with Shadir and Dion, and they tell you no, you still got Will Levis, and you can bank on him and then try to make a run for Manning in 2026 as your backup. But to just write off 2025, no. Remember, their 3rd-round pick goes to Kansas City. They already gave up draft capital in 2025. So, I think if you, by the way, Cam Ward might be a great fit. I mean, he's right there in Miami. Size, monster numbers, great come from behind victories. Normally would be a Heisman front runner. Not this year because you got a running back who's doing some phenomenal things there in Boise. But by the way, this is Miami is undefeated right now and on the verge of playing for a national championship. They're right now, they're in. So we'll have to wait and see. But I don't, if you're Tennessee, I would not do that. But we'll find out. Oh, I know. I just say if I was Titans GM, I would make a play for Manning. I'm just really high. I am just really high. I think you mean not. Yeah. Well, there's only 2 right now, and that's Cam Ward and Shadir Sanders. But I agree with you. I 100% agree with you that Manning's a better prospect. I just don't think you can bank on him. That's all I'm saying, especially if you're Tennessee. That's not good, man. Philly is better. Marissa Tomei. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. We used to go out and she would get people, this was in the 90s, showing my age a little bit. Yeah. She did not age well. Perry, if we were friends on social media, I would be a jerk and just show you because now she has gray and purple hair and She used to call herself fat at 100. She's like 150, but she's like 4'11. So like it's yeah, yeah, yeah. Just let's just say I dodged a bullet, not just for the looks, but like I can go on, but I don't want to trash people. Dan, should Denver go all in on the draft and free agency, or how much are they in cap? I think after this year, their cap space is okay. I really think that they're smart. Their best move would be to just go with the draft and try to build up through the draft. I mean, to be honest with you, I really think that after this Russell Wilson situation is taken care of, they're really in good shape. I think they're in real good shape. I like what Denver's doing. Bo Nix is the real deal. What you do in the draft is that let's just have some fun here. Let's just have some fun. Right now, the Denver Broncos would pick. Wow, they would pick it 21st, right? Let's do this. Let's just take a look at the Denver Broncos complete as of today. So this is subject to change. So they don't have a 5th round pick. They have 2 6s, no 7s. So you have 6 draft picks. You start 21. Okay. I would not trade up, but you have the ability to trade down. Of course, sometimes that's really good. Depends on, maybe you can get a player. You may be able to get a pick. I mean, Detroit at 31 is always a candidate to trade up. You may have a team. I'm trying to look here. I mean, you may have a team that wants to trade back into the first round. Somebody like Cleveland, maybe New York. I mean, New England, possibly. Maybe they want to load up on defense. You never know. But I think you could also just take the best available player, regardless of position, at 21, and you're good. I would, if you have to go in through all, no, I would just build steadily, because you have a good defense. You have your quarterback. You have some players, just slow and steady. I would not go all in and just like make a big splash. Just build gradually, and you're in really good shape. You're in really good shape. No, I here's the deal. I really like this kid coming out of Tennessee, and I thought it was a great pick in the 3rd round, because there was I remember coming out, like some people thought that if he was just a little more productive, a little more consistent, he had all the tools to be a 1st round receiver. What I didn't like is that one of the moves Cleveland did after they traded, remember they had Donovan Peoples-Jones, who had some flashes, had a world of ability, just not a lot of production at Michigan. Remember, he was like the #1 receiver. He was ahead of CeeDee Lamb. He was ahead of Jerry Jeudy coming out of high school. Just didn't do much at Michigan, but he had potential. 6th round draft pick, had some flashes. David Bell had some flashes. Of course, on IR. Maybe we're not talking about Tillman without David Bell being injured. Guy I loved out of Purdue, by the way. Elijah Moore, guy I loved out of Ole Miss. Remember, they traded for him. They had that so the Jets can get more draft capital, so they could acquire Aaron Rodgers. So they jettisoned Elijah Moore. So you had Amari Cooper, you had Elijah Moore, and you drafted Cedric Tillman in the 3rd round, which I thought was a good move, even though you had Donovan Peoples-Jones, and he also had some other weapons. So when you traded for Jerry Jeudy, my thought process was Tillman is a disaster. He can't play. And I think what happened was, with David Bell going down, and they moved on from Amari Cooper, part of a cap move, because they may have to figure a way out of a Deshaun Watson contract. You got a guy that's wildly talented that got an opportunity. But yeah, I think he could be. I really do. The talent's there. It's just that, so far, and like when you're a third round pick, you either are going to be a starter or you're going to be a backup. If you're a backup, is it because you're talented and you're just raw and developing, or is it because you can't play in the NFL? My thought process was they traded for Jerry Jeudy because this guy couldn't play. Maybe they just got lucky. Wouldn't that be funny if all these things happen and the Browns get lucky of all things and get a number one receiver despite all the horribleness that's happened with the Deshaun Watson trade? I'm dropping a Duze for Tillman and Wandale for Downs. I love it. I tag. Let me know if it goes through. And I know you've been in touch, but keep staying in touch with me. So, any word on D-Hop is doing in practice this week? Actually, they've really liked Hopkins. You have to understand is like DeAndre Hopkins has some familiarity with the Chiefs. I mean, time playing, they played against the Chiefs, a couple times. A lot of these guys, go to Pro Bowl events. It's not like he's a complete stranger. So he's really kind of meshed pretty well. I haven't had a chance. Matter of fact, I'll do it right now. I haven't had a chance to see the status on Juju Smith-Schuster, but if Juju Smith-Schuster, who's currently questionable, if he doesn't play, then I think DeAndre Hopkins could have a big game against Tampa potentially. But I haven't been paying attention to the practice reports as of yet. So the way my weekend goes is Sunday I shut off my phone. I watch as much football as I possibly can. Of course, I do the Chiefs live stream. Monday I do the live stream. I take a little bit of a break, and then I watch Monday Night Football. After Monday Night Football, I make the video. I do because I do everything myself, and today this video took a little longer to make. I stayed up till 5 a.m. so I didn't have time to get into some of the other things. I'll be paying attention to this during the week. Josh, what's up, brother? 16-man PPR. Wow. Trade Dell and Mossert for James Cook. That could be a potential home run. Let's take a look at the rest of your roster. Dak, nice. Really like Dak. For fantasy football, you're not getting too many guys better than Dak. You want to talk, is he an elite quarterback? We can have that conversation. Fantasy, great job. Yeah, I like the fact you got A-Chain and Mozart. So if you're going to trade Mozart, you're all in on A-Chain. Oh, God, CeeDee Lamb. You got the Dak Lamb. Nice. You're in fantastic shape. DJ Moore, Njoku, and Dell. Notable bench guys. Downs. Nice. Charbonnet. Nice. Russell Wilson and Caleb Williams. 3 quarterbacks in a 16-man league. That's really weird. Okay, so I want to tell you this. I really like this move because you're not really going to play Dell, and Downs' value goes way up. If A-Chain goes down and Mozart's production goes up, you're going to hate yourself. But I love this move because with Cook, you get a 3-down back, probably going to give you more consistent production, and that's all you need because you have Dak, you have CeeDee Lamb, so you're definitely getting points. A-Chain's your boom or bust guy. Get James Cook for some solid production, and then also like the fact you got some really good guys and more, and more, and you also have Downs, which I like, and I think Njoku's. I love this. I absolutely love this. What I would do if I was in your situation is I would put out some trade feelers for Russell Wilson and Caleb Williams. But yeah, I like to trade. I like to trade a lot. I think you win this trade. Granted, if A-Chain goes down, you're going to hate yourself. But banking on A-Chain, I like it. I also like the fact that even if he does go down and you lose Mozart, James Cook is a very solid number one, and Charbonnet, like iffy, but you're in a great situation that you can make a move for Russell Wilson, whose value is going way up, and you could also possibly trade Caleb Williams for something. Josh, let me know what you do, brother, and please stay in touch. I don't remember off the top of my head. If you've been here before, please hit the subscribe button and let me know how you do. Let me know if you make the trade. Stay in touch with me. Let me know how you do. I'm assuming you're in really good shape because this is a really good team, especially in a 16-man PPR league. You're in really good shape. You should be. What are you, 6-2? 5-3, something like that. You're probably in really good shape. Stay in touch with me, brother, because I want to hear from you going into the playoffs. 16-man league, you probably have a later, probably playoffs start around 14, somewhere between 14 and 16, somewhere in there. Jose, what's up, brother? I need 2 running backs and a flex. Here to help, brother. I like Aaron Jones quite a bit. You're going against a terrible, just god-awful Colts defense. I like Aaron Jones against a bad Colts defense. I'm not gonna lie, but all these running backs are solid, by the way. I'm assuming it's a PPR. If it's a standard league, Mixon and Connor have a lot more value than Jones and Hall. If it's a PPR, I would go with Jones and Hall. If it's standard, I would probably go with Mixon and Connor. By the way, this is a good situation because I think all 4 of these running backs could have good games. Mixon against a bad Jets defense. Keep in mind with your top 2 receivers out, that might be some problem. You could have some problems there. I think Breece Hall could potentially have a good game. Aaron Jones would be the guy I would really target. You're playing against a really bad Colts defense. And you also got a couple extra days rest. I know he's been banged up, but the extra rest should help out. Connor against a really good Bears defense, that would be my odd guy out. The other 3, you really can't go wrong, in my opinion. By the way, Connor could still get a touchdown, but I like Jones and I like Hall. I'll be honest with you, now that I think about it, if you're in a standard league, you may just want to go with an all Thursday night lineup and not even think about it. So. All right. All right. So it sounds like you're going to go with Jones and Mixon. Not a bad option. If you're in a PPR league, I like a 3-down back. So I think you have to figure a way to get Breece Hall in the lineup. And I'm assuming from Hall in here, it's a PPR league. So I think Hall you have to play. But I'll be honest with you, all these receivers, I'm not as high on Reed as a lot of people in the chat, but I think you could go with Puka or Kupp and be in really, really good shape. I would exit Reed. Are you sure you can't get Puka and Cup to be a receiver? Just saying. But if you're going to go with Jones and Mixon, I don't blame you. Then Hall should be your flex. If you want to go with Jones and Hall instead, and then you want to flex, if you're going to flex one of these receivers, I would flex Puka. Keep in mind, I have no confidence in Seattle's defense. None. So I like both these receivers. That's why I said, could you start one of them? Because I might go down that road, find a way to get Puka or Cup into my starting lineup. But 2 running backs, I would go with Jones. I would go with Hall. Oh, yeah, no. Okay. All right. Your guy, great job, by the way. I would go with Jones. I would go with Mixon, and you could flex Hall, and you're in really good shape. You're in really good shape, my friend. I'll be honest with you. I'll be really honest with you. I would not blame you one bit if you decided to flex Puka and you went with any option here. I think out of them, I would roll out Connor. I really like Jones against a bad Colts defense, and with Flacco coming back, I could see the Vikings in a situation where they would need to keep on scoring. Also, like the extra rest, I think that's a big deal. Since Mixon was banged up quite a bit earlier in the year on a short week, I'm leaning against Mixon, but I like Jones and Hall. I would not blame you one bit if you went Jones, Mixon, flexed Hall. I also wouldn't blame you if you went Jones and Hall and decided to flex Puka. Someone offered me Deontay Johnson for Evan Ingram. I get, hey, Jose, let me know what you do. Stay in touch with me. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and let me know what you do. Let me know what you do and let me know how you do, because this is a fantastic lineup that you have. You should be in really, really, really good shape. I really hope to hear back from you, brother. Someone offered me Deontay Johnson for Evan Ingram. I get Johnson, and my other tight end is Kelsey. I don't like the move, and I'll tell you why. Evan Ingram last year had 108 receptions. This is a guy that I think his value is going up. Deontay Johnson is going to be probably the number 3 option, 4 option if you want to include Andrews or one of the tight ends. I really just don't see him getting involved and getting a lot of production. That said, if your other tight end is Kelsey, you have a guy that's going to get you steady production. I'll be honest with you. I'm not really high on Deontay Johnson. I think his value is low. Because look at what you have. You have a team that wants to run the ball more than they want to throw the ball. Flowers is going to be the number 1 guy. You also have Bateman. And then you also got a couple tight ends that have been productive. I think Deontay Johnson's value is really low. And Evan Ingram's a good starting tight end. I'll be honest with you. I know it's a tough matchup against Philly, but Evan Ingram may be a better matchup than Kelsey. I wouldn't blame you. I would go with Kelsey. You're talking, consistent and steady. But if you're going to move into Evan Ingram, I want to at least get a starter. And I don't see that in Deontay Johnson at all. If he does get, if he does score next week, you may be yelling at me. But, yeah. I might, but, the one thing I want to tell you is that I love playing guys on Monday Night Football. And, with the possibility of Juju Smith-Schuster being out and Deontay Hopkins. Oh, no, I got it. I got it. I got it. BD Buster. Man, I'm about ready to end the show, man. I'm sorry, man, but I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see you. How does it feel to be part of the first place Lions? First place in the NFC. I'm wearing Lions colors today. By the way, BD Buster, please check out my video. I want to know your opinion of my Lions-Packers game. But no, I gotcha. I'll be honest with you. I might go with Ingram because, you know, I mean, look, Philly's defense is good. Don't get me wrong, but you know, Ingram's going to have the opportunity to put up some points. I mean, you know, but the one thing about Kelsey is that you're going to get steady production. This is a Dan thing. I love playing guys on Monday night. Love playing guys on Monday night. And you're gonna have production either way. So I would maybe lean towards Kelsey, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I would pause because Ingram could have a good game. I would probably go with Kelsey, but if you're projected to lose, I might go with Ingram, but if you need some solid points, I would go with Kelsey. I'll be honest with you, Josh Uche would have been a great fit in Detroit. I'm kind of surprised you didn't go. I'm surprised because, I mean, Chiefs gave up, I think it was a fifth, and, you know, they get a sixth back or something like that. Uche would have been a nice fit. I'm glad he's in Kansas City. I think it would have been a great fit for Detroit. I think better fit for Detroit. PPR, this is a great roster, man. This is a great roster. Lamb, Brown, Puka, Cup, Breed, BTJ. Your receivers are phenomenal. Running back, Hall, Mixon, Jones. Oh, Connor. Okay, Connor. Yeah. Yeah, it will. And yeah, 6-2. Yeah, please stay in touch with me. And I agree completely. I just don't think his value is very good. So yeah. I seriously, Uche would have been a better fit in Detroit than Kansas City, but I'm really glad we got him. Really, really glad. He's going to help. I think he'd be more valuable in Detroit. All right, guys, I end the video. Listen, if you have a question and I missed it, put a comment below. I'll get back to it later tonight. You can also DM me on either Twitter or X, which one you want to call it, Instagram, or you can go old school and email me at dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. I got to get Craig's email answered, which I'll do later on tonight. Have a great night. I hope you're back for Fantasy Football Wednesday tomorrow. I'll see you then.